These are the most outrageous times when referees straight up ruined the NHL. Now, ruining the NHL might be a bit of a stretch for a missed call in overtime of a regular season game, but every missed or blown call ruins the integrity of the game. That's especially true in this case, where referee Dennis Morel called a good goal despite the fact Winnipeg Jets player Nelson Emerson clearly threw the puck in the net after catching a clearing attempt from Blackhawks goalkeeper Ed Belfour. Emerson showed incredible hand-eye coordination, catching the puck as it wrapped around the boards, but apparently forgot what sport he was playing when he tossed the puck in the net. Luckily, the ref seemingly had no idea what sport he was officiating. What's even crazier is that the goal still counted after video review. Try and explain that one. While that overtime goal really didn't have much impact on either the Jets or the Blackhawks season, this controversial call essentially ended the Vancouver Canucks season. Trailing 3-0 in the first round of the playoffs against the San Jose Sharks, the Canucks put forth an inspired effort in Game 4 and were tied 3-3 with less than 7 minutes left in overtime, when Daniel Sedin was called for a controversial boarding penalty on Tommy Wingels.
Off the boards to Torres. 3 ahead for the Sharks, and Wingels' shot is blocked.
Sedin, a Hall of Famer who was softer than Sharman, rarely took the body, so it was a surprise to see him knock another player off his feet, which is probably what brought on the call. The Sharks scored 15 seconds into the power play to end the Canucks season.
Center, in for Thornton. Thornton shoots, saved by Schneider. They score!
Canucks fans are among the most tortured fan bases in the NHL, and apparently for a good reason. The fact that fans destroyed their own city after losing the Stanley Cup final to the Boston Bruins in 2011 seems asinine at first, but when you understand their history of playoff failures and controversies, it starts to make sense. Before the Sedin call and others, the Canucks had a similar controversial moment in Game 7 of their first-round playoff series against the Calgary Flames. Joel Otto scored the overtime winner, redirecting or kicking depending on who you ask, a shot into the back of the net with his right skate. Calgary won the Stanley Cup that year, while the Canucks have yet to sip from Lord Stanley. Missed calls in the early rounds of the playoffs are frustrating, but it's even worse when referees screw up in the Stanley Cup final and essentially play a role in determining the winner. Unfortunately, that has happened far too many times, including once in 2004 when the Flames were on the opposite end of the call. This time, Calgary's Martin Jelena appeared to score on Lightning's goalkeeper Nikolai Habibulin to give Calgary a 3-2 lead in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final. However, the play kept going and the officials didn't review whether or not the puck crossed the line until minutes later.
This was on the replay, and the second chance, did the puck actually cross the line? That was a question mark.
Spoiler alert, the puck definitely crossed the line, as did the officials by not calling it a goal. The Lightning went on to win both Game 6 and 7. Winning their first Stanley Cup. As long as we're talking about tortured fan bases, the Flames and the Canucks have nothing on the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Toward the net now, the shot, that's blocked, and it hurt.
Toronto has not won the Stanley Cup since 1967, but did have some decent playoff runs since then, particularly in the 90s and the early 2000s. However, the mere mention of Kerry Fraser will cause Leaf fans' blood pressure to rise faster than an Austin Matthews wrist shot. That's because the referee missed a blatant high-sticking call on Wayne Gretzky against Leafs captain Doug Gilmour in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals.
Gretzky moving toward the net now. The shot, that's blocked, and it hurt Gilmour.
Video replay shows the Great One clearly getting his stick into the face of Gilmour, although that wasn't even needed as Gilmour was bleeding profusely. Yet, even after discussing the play with his linesman, Fraser refused to call a penalty on Gretzky, who, you guessed it, scored the overtime winner, ending Toronto's season. The Maple Leafs have been a great regular season team in recent years, but are still known for their playoff failures. Toronto won its first playoff series in 2 decades in 2023, but the year before, they experienced heartache once again with a Game 7 loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round of the playoffs. Toronto lost 2-1, but had a controversial goal called back in the second period, down 1-0 when defenseman Justin Hull was penalized for interference on Anthony Cirelli.
There's the pick right there.
Referees determined Hull set a pick play on Cirelli, despite the fact it appeared to be an incidental contact. Many missed calls and dumb penalty calls have had an immediate impact on important playoff games, but none have facilitated pointless rule changes and impacted video review as much as Matt Duchene's goal against the Nashville Predators in an otherwise meaningless regular season game.
So trying to launch that up ice, and Duchene takes it. He's in, he shoots, he's gone.
Duchene was more offside than Sean Avery when he spoke about NHL players chasing his sloppy seconds. But linesmen Derek Amell and Anthony Sericolo didn't see it that way.
Everybody in the building, he knew he was offside.
More than a decade later, and we have dozens of goals called back every year on coaches' challenges in which a player's skate might be a nose hair offside. That wasn't the spirit of the rule change. Now, instead of immediately celebrating goals, fans have to show some reservation, as there's always a chance video review might show the play was offside, even if the scoring team had been in the offensive zone for 30 seconds. Referees are going to make mistakes. Even the most passionate fans are fine with the odd blown call or missed penalty call here and there, as long as they trust the officials to uphold the integrity of the game. Tim Peel tarnished his reputation and essentially called into question the integrity of all the officials in 2021 when he was caught on a hot mic saying that he wanted to call a penalty on the Nashville Predators. Peel, who called a tripping penalty on Victor Arvidsson, told fellow referee Kelly Sutherland this.
It wasn't much, but I wanted to get a penalty against Nashville early.
Not surprisingly, Peel has never officiated a game since, but fans still have questions about referees and their approach to game management.
It's not uncomfortable for me anymore, and
he's now angry on X, formerly Twitter, which is about what you'd expect a disgraced NHL referee to be doing. Before we get into the most well-known and embarrassing blown call in NHL history, let's take a look at something a little more lighthearted, but still highlights the ineptitude of NHL referees.
Knocked down at center by Robertson. On Eriksson, that caught a stick up high.
Watch this clip as many times as you can, and you still won't have an idea as to what the referee saw here to warrant a penalty on Joel Eriksson Ek. As you see, Dallas Stars forward Jamie Benn runs into Eriksson Ek, who is simply skating towards the puck. Benn recoils from the impact, hits himself in the face with his own stick, flawlessly twirls like he's an Olympic figure skater, and swings his stick around to hit Eriksson Ek in the face. Benn wasn't penalized, and Eriksson Ek received a penalty for an illegal check to the head. As bad as some of these calls were, there's no blown call that stands out more in NHL history than Brett Hull's triple overtime goal against the Buffalo Sabres in Game 6 of the 1999 Stanley Cup Final.
Just by Hull, shot, Hull, loose puck, Hull, shot,
While it might not look like much of an issue for younger fans, Hull had his toe in the crease when he scored the game-winning goal past Sabres netminder Dominic Hasek. This would count without question in today's NHL.
There is Brett Hull's left foot, clearly in the crease. The puck is out of the crease, and he whacked it home.
That goal should not have counted under the rule.
But the league was much more strict about players being in the crease during the 90s. Hull immediately celebrated scoring the biggest goal of his career and was mobbed by his Stars teammates while the Sabres players confronted the officials, whose only excuse for not reviewing the play must have been that they just wanted to end the marathon game and get home.
I'm proud to present it to the captain of the Dallas Stars, Darian Hassel.
While the goal doesn't look at all problematic by today's standards, Sabres fans had a legit gripe, as similar goals were called back all season long. This was as close as the Sabres have come to winning the Stanley Cup. And because they haven't even made the playoffs since 2010, 2011, this memory becomes more painful with each passing season. But nothing is more painful than these moments right here. These are the most embarrassing moments in NHL history. Go ahead and suffer the secondhand embarrassment.